DogWorks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dog Works. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by First Paw Coffee Company, specializing in private label premium blend coffee. If you're serious about coffee, you should check it out. First Paw Coffee's passion is high-quality, small-batch roasted coffee. They take the extra time to taste and get everything perfect before they release new blends. They aim to bring you a cup of happiness each time you pour yourself some coffee. Find out more at ak.dog/free and enter for a chance to win some First Paw Coffee prizes, a book from our collection, and tote bag. One winner will be selected at random each month. That's ak.dog/free.
Dog training is not difficult. It is all about timing and routine. But many owners get frustrated when they try to do it on their own and nothing works out. Many of them price shop and hire the first dog trainer they find, and it often ends badly. Our advice: don't hire an amateur to train your dog. Your dog will be a part of your life for the next decade or more. It is well worth the investment to do it right. This show is chock full of tips on how to find a trainer that will work with you and reach your goals, and we will introduce you to a dog named Jackson. Also, we're going to learn about a small-sized hunting dog of Spitz type, which was thought to be extinct but survived as a farm and hunting dog in the northern parts of Sweden and Finland. To be able to navigate the rough terrain and climate of the Scandinavian forests and hold large, dangerous game like moose. Stay tuned.
From First Paw Media, sponsored by Alaska Dog Works Professional Canine Training Center in Anchorage, Alaska. This is DogWorks Radio, committed to families and their dogs to build lifelong and fulfilling relationships. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert and Michele Forto.
Hello and welcome. This is your host, Michele Forto, and I'm the lead trainer of Alaska Dog Works. Let me go into our story about Jackson. Like most dog owners' early days, it goes something like what happened with the Smiths. And I quote, "When we first brought Jackson into our lives, he was, well, a bit of a menace. He has always been a good dog. I believe all dogs are inherently good, but he was far from obedient. No, obedience is something that all dogs have to learn. And it's more difficult for some than others. To be honest, it wasn't long before we started thinking about hiring a dog trainer, but it was quite a while before we actually went for it." So, why do so many people try to train their own dogs? It's easy to watch a few episodes of a dog training show on YouTube or read a few chapters of a book and think you can handle the job. Reality is quite different, and that's something many dog owners learn the hard way. Mrs. Smith told us that, quote, "Jackson came to us at a time when we had to be a little mindful of our spending, and we weren't exactly eager to invest in what we thought would be expensive obedience training. So we bought a few books, DVR'd a few episodes of The Dog Whisperer, and thought we had it covered. That is, until we realized that Jackson was 6 months old and still gnawing at the couch like it was a leg of lamb. The allure of the DIY approach to dog training was just too good to ignore, until we figured out we were actually doing more harm than good." So there's some consequences of training your own dog yourself. The biggest drawback of do-it-yourself dog training is the potential lost time. If you are among the small percentage who can successfully train your dog without help or intervention, you don't have to worry about lost time. But if you are fumbling through and trying to figure out as you go, as most of us are, you stand to lose valuable moments in your dog's life that could be spent reinforcing good behaviors instead of sending mixed and inconsistent messages. Yet again, we learned this the hard way. Back to the Smiths, and I quote, "Jackson was a youngin' when we started training, and we gave it 6 months before we decided that what we were doing wasn't working. By that time, he was almost a year old and had made some strong habits out of his bad behaviors. Even though we thought we were working to correct them, just like with humans, the first year of a dog's life is extremely formative. It's not that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's just that it's not as easy." So, my advice to anyone with a new dog is to get it together sooner rather than later. If you have dog training experience, by all means, go for it. Otherwise, bite the bullet and hire a dog trainer. You'll be glad you did. Here's some dangers in hiring an amateur. Do you know someone who claims to be a dog trainer? Maybe they'll train your dog for free or give you a discount. There aren't many situations in which this works out. It is imperative that you find the right trainer for your dog, and that isn't always a family friend or relative. When you hire someone you know, you're less likely to ask the hard questions because you don't want to offend them. Do they use choke collars? You would assume they wouldn't, and asking could be offensive, right? Well, what if they do and you didn't ask? Another thing about using a trainer that is a friend or a family member, you'll have the tendency not to do your part and put in the work that they prescribe. Learning about different types of trainers. I'm going to talk about the Smiths again, and let me just go into this quote. When we set out on our journey to find a trainer for Jackson, we thought it would be as easy as Googling the closest dog training professionals and comparing prices. Boy, were we wrong. Imagine hiring a personal trainer or a nutritionist for yourself. How many different methods and schools of thought could there be? You could find someone who is really into cross-training or someone who believes that vegan is the only way to eat. It's the same when it comes to dog training. There are many different methods and types of trainers, but here are the basic categories of training you'll have to choose from. Behavioral, obedience, and agility or sports, vocational. Let's delve into these a little bit deeper, shall we? So with behavioral, this is the most basic and common type of dog training that is done. Behavioral training addresses issues like chewing, barking, and housebreaking. The Smiths said, "This is what we started Jackson on, but then we moved on to obedience training once he shed his disruptive behaviors." So let's talk about obedience. From the Smiths again, with professional help, it wasn't long before Jackson was ready to get started on obedience training, and we were able to use the same trainer. Here, he learned to obey common commands like sit, stay, lie down, and roll over. These commands are more than just parlor tricks. When a dog learns to sit and come on command, you can use them to keep him out of tricky or dangerous situations. So what about agility or sports? Well, agility training takes obedience training to another level. If you've ever seen Nana, the Border Collie, you have seen the results of a combination of obedience and agility training on steroids. Not literally, but you understand what I'm saying. Agility training teaches dogs to participate in sports, obstacle courses, and jumping. So what is vocational training? Well, vocational is dogs who are meant to herd, hunt, or do rescue work. All must go through vocational training. If this is what you want for your dog, you'll need to find a trainer who specializes in training your desired vocation. In addition to the type of training your dog may receive, there are also different types of trainers. All trainers fall into one of two categories: do and don't. Many trainers believe that the key to training lies in rewarding good behaviors instead of punishing a dog for bad ones. These are the do-based trainers. Don't-based trainers do the opposite. Let me delve into this a little bit deeper for you guys. Under do-based training, we will find lure reward training, compulsion praise training, and marker training. So let me explain those. Lure reward training is enticing the dog by rewarding good behavior with a food lure or treat. Compulsion praise training is physically manipulating the dog to perform your requested task, like sitting, and then rewarding with a treat. Marker training is using sounds or clicks along with rewards to let your dog know which behaviors you desire. Don't-based training involves replacement training and consequence training. And let's go into those a little deeper as well. So replacement training is correcting undesirable behavior with a more desirable one. Consequence training employs an undesirable consequence to the dog when he performs an undesirable act. A choke collar is one example of consequence training, but it isn't the only one. Consequence training could also mean taking away attention or affection whenever the dog performs an undesirable behavior. So how do you know which trainer is right for you? Well, now that you know about all the various types of trainers and training methods, it's up to you to decide which is right for your dog. But don't worry. If you're unsure, schedule a meeting with a few different trainers and discuss their methods and your options. You should get a pretty good feel for which method is right for you by your comfort level with the training. And remember that you will have to perform the tasks at home, at the park, on the trail, on walks around the block, and when company comes over for dinner. Every trainer will give you some homework. So be sure you're comfortable with the method before you invest in the training. Pros and cons of professional dog training. First, let's start with what's easy. The con of hiring a dog trainer is the cost. That's the elephant in the room, isn't it? But when you start to really examine the pros, you'll realize that you're getting so much more than just obedience. You'll learn how to spend quality time with your dog and avoid the frustrations of misunderstanding one another. He will know what you want from him, and you'll know how to get it out of him. In many cases, trainers will also socialize your dog for you. This is something that requires work on your end too, of course. But it certainly helps to give your dog professionally supervised time with all kinds of other breeds. Why personality matters? Well, according to our friends the Smiths, they say, "We absolutely love Jackson's trainer, and I think that has helped a great deal with his training. I have always felt comfortable asking questions and requesting more time on something if he seems to need more work. Our relationship with our dog's trainer is a true partnership, which is exactly the way it should be. If you don't like your dog's trainer, move on to the next." So let me give you guys some questions to ask a potential trainer. Before you hire any trainer, regardless of whether you like him or her, you should know exactly what to expect. Here is a list of the questions the Smiths asked potential trainers when they were interviewing for a dog like Jackson. You may be able to think of a few more, but this is a good starting point. Number 1, how long have you been training dogs? Number 2, have you ever trained this breed before? Number 3, what type of equipment do you use, and will I have to buy anything? Number 4, can you explain your training method? What happens when the dog performs an undesirable behavior? Number 5, do you guarantee any results? Number 6, how will you know if my dog is stressed during training, and what will you do about it? We hope that this podcast will help you find the right trainer for your dog's needs. Remember, it will be a journey that you will take alongside your pet, so it's one you should enjoy too. But we know this isn't the only journey you will take with your four-legged friend, so we've prepared a series to help you navigate through life with your best canine buddy. You won't want to miss this, so stay tuned. We're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we're going to learn all about the Norrbotten Spets.
So earlier, you learned about First Paw Coffee Company. Now I'm going to tell you about its Trailbreaker Blend. First Paw Coffee Company's Trailbreaker Blend is inspired by our love of the Northern Lights, frosty paws, and sled dog trails. How cool is that? The Trailbreaker Blend is a private label premium blend that was developed just for them. It's a medium dark roast from Central and South America, highlighting flavors of brown sugar, hazelnut, and plum. Be sure to go to ak.dog/free and enter to win a bunch of cool prizes. That's ak.dog/free.
So this last fall, I was introduced to a Norrbotten Spet, and her name is Zoe, and I feel so honored to have been able to participate in her training and learn all about her breed. So let me tell you a little bit more about the Norrbotten Spets. Knobs aren't large dogs. A big male stands a shade below 20 inches, but they're tough, sinewy bodies are built to withstand punishing terrain and harsh climates. They are a small-sized hunting dog of Spitz type, which was thought to be extinct but survived as a farm and hunting dog in the northern parts of Sweden and Finland. To be able to navigate the rough terrain and climate of the Scandinavian forests and hold large, dangerous game like moose. Norrbotten's pets evolved to be extremely agile, rugged, and weatherproof with a fearless attitude, while at the same time kind and affectionate companions at home. They exhibit no extremes in physical characteristics because they must do all things well. So if you're having trouble thinking about what these little guys look like, they're small, they're white with brown spots, and they are comparable to Karelian bear dogs, which a lot of you may be more familiar with, although they are half, if not a quarter of the size to a Karelian bear dog. Let's go into some quick facts. Temperament is fearless, agile, and attentive. Their height is between 16.5 and 18 inches. Their weight is between 20 and 30 pounds. They have a life expectancy of 14 to 17 years. They are classified in the miscellaneous group, and I would go on to add that they are very spunky, per my own experience. The history. For centuries, the people of the world's northernmost climates have bred a type of dog known as Spitz. These Nordic breeds can be burly like the Alaskan Malamute or dainty like the Pomeranian. But Spitz types share certain traits. These include a profusely coated tail curved tightly over the back, a wedged-shaped head, usually bearing a fox-like expression, and erect, pointed ears. The Norrbotten Spets is a member of this ancient clan of cold weather hunters and workers. The Norrbotten Spets means Spitz from the country of North Bothnia and probably originates from small Laika type spits that were known to live with hunting people in the North Cape area in prehistoric time. Small hunting spits have survived for thousands of years through natural selection in the very harsh areas of the northern parts of the Scandinavian peninsula. Hunting for food and fur was a necessity for survival. Precious furs like sable, marten skin, and ermine were the only valid currency for centuries. When fur prices dropped drastically after World War II, so did the interest for the Norrbottensspets. The breed vanished and had no registrations for many years. Hence, the Swedish Kennel Club declared it extinct. But only a decade later, news came that some true-to-type specimens had been found living as pets and watchdogs on small homesteads in the inland area of North Bothnia. Due to the very dedicated work of a few men, this old-type hunting Spitz was saved. In 1967, the Norrbottensspitz was reintroduced to the registry in Sweden, and a new standard was drawn up. The FCI accepted the new breed standard, and the official name became Norrbottensspets. Following the Swedish Kennel Club's desire, Finns began to search the remote countryside of North Finland for native dogs that matched the standard to broaden the gene pool. They were successful, and the majority of foundation dogs came from Finland. The stud book is still open in Finland, but was closed in the 1980s in Sweden. The Norrbottensspets population is about 1,600 in Sweden and 1,300 in Finland, with scattered individuals counted in some tens around the world. Norrbottensspets were accepted to the American Kennel Club's Foundation Stock Service in November of 2007. As of November 2012, 181 Norrbottensspets, 175 of these with 3-generation pedigrees, were recorded with the American Kennel Club's Foundation Stock Service. So this is a fairly new breed here in America and worth taking a look at. Care and training should do well. They should do well on a high-quality dog food, whether commercially manufactured or home prepared with your veterinarian's supervision and approval. Any diet should be appropriate to the dog's age. Some dogs are prone to getting overweight, so watch your dog's calorie consumption and weight level. Treats can be an important aid in training, but giving too many can cause obesity. Learn about which human foods are safe for dogs and which are not. Check with your vet if you have any concerns about your dog's weight or diet. Clean, fresh water should be available at all times. The Norrbottensspets is double coated with a top coat that is hard, short, and straight, and an undercoat that is fine and dense. They are very clever and clean dogs with no offensive smell. Beyond regular weekly grooming, they very occasional bath will keep them clean and looking their best. Their nails should be trimmed when necessary with a nail clipper or grinder to avoid overgrowth, splitting, and cracking. Ears should be checked regularly to avoid a buildup of wax and debris, which can result in infection. Teeth should be brushed when needed. Knobs are vivacious, energetic, and playful with an engaging and affectionate disposition. Options for exercise include playtime in the backyard, preferably fenced, or being taken for walks several times a day. Exercise can also come in the form of indoor activities like hide and seek, chasing a ball rolled along the floor, or learning new tricks. Certain outdoor activities like swimming, hiking, and retrieving balls or flying discs can provide a good outlet for expending energy. If you live in an apartment, even short walks in the hallways can give your dog some exercise, especially during inclement weather. Training for dog sports like agility, obedience, and rally can also be a great way to give your dog exercise. And here's another bonus tip. This breed really loves to hunt. And here in Alaska, actually here in Alaska in the valley, we have something really cool that's being offered, and that's something called barn hunts. And a barn hunt is where you take your little hunting dog down to the facility, and they've got all these straw bales and tubes set up, and one tube will have nothing in it. Another tube will have rat bedding in it, and the third tube will have an actual live rat. The dog can't catch the rat. The dog just needs to locate the rat. And that's what's really cool about it, is it lets your dog, that is a little hunting dog, actually do what it's supposed to do. How fun is that? So let me go on. Some of the dogs may be faced with health challenges in their lives, but the majority of North Spaten's pets are healthy. Working with a responsible breeder, prospective owners can gain the education they need to learn about specific health concerns within the breed. Did you know the North Spaten's pet has been assigned to the Hound Group designation? North Spaten's pets are active, but with daily exercise can be quiet in the home. The breed was so rare, they were once thought to be extinct. Before we go, let's give an update to our radio listeners on KVRF. January 24th is Peanut Butter Day, a day to honor the creamy creation that has helped train and treat many dogs. January 29th is the Seeing Eye Guide Dog Anniversary. Just this week, we released our 5th blend from First Paw Coffee. It is our Road Trippin' blend. It is a light roast and inspired by road trips with our pups, roller coasters, and music festivals. You can find all of our coffee blends on our First Paw Coffee Company Facebook page. Remember that National Train Your Dog Month lasts all of January. You will find a bunch of articles over on our website at alaskadogworks.com. April 9th through the 11th, we will be at the Matsu Outdoorsman Show at the Fairgrounds in Palmer. Come out and see us. On April 17th, our summer run of group classes in the park start at Wonderland Park in Wasilla at 11:30 a.m. These are free and part of your program for current and past clients. If you are not a client of Alaska Dogworks yet, you are welcome to come and just pay a small drop-in fee. Later on, be sure to check out our website and social media pages for upcoming classes. We are working on tribal and scent work. We are also rolling out our Adventure Dog Club. Lastly, in late June, we will be at the Summer Festival at the Alaska Raceway Park at booth H13. Be sure to stop by and say hi. Please be sure to follow us on our social channels. Just search Dogworks Radio. You can find a lot more about us and our training programs at alaskadogworks.com. Did you know the single best thing you can do is to tell your friends and family about our show? Thank you for listening, and see you next time.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company. Learn more at firstpaw.coffee.
From First Paw Media, this is Dogworks Radio. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you'll see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert and Michele Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media. Did you know that Alaska Dogworks trains service dogs for those in need throughout North America? Each and every service dog that is trained through the Lead Dog Service Dog Program and Michele Forto and her team has an individual training plan. We train for autistic, mobility, psychiatric, and PTSD for our soldiers for service work. If you know of someone that may need a service dog, please take a moment and check out Alaska Dogworks on social media and at alaskadogworks.com.